Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday.
Having some sound issues here. Let's try that. How are you today? This is Susan Campfield with SueStampfield.com. Thank you so much for joining me. A little bit late today. Apologize for that. Normally I go live on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and running behind today. I have some new software that we're kind of going to try out today and experiment with. And I got home very late last night from my family's Christmas tree farm where I was helping prune trees. So took a little extra time today, but I'm super excited to share a gorgeous card with you. We're going to be once again playing with the Picture This dies. And we've played with these before. I absolutely love them. And so I'm excited to share them with you once again on a completely in a different way. So we're going to be playing with some designer series paper today. I love my designer series paper. I love my stamps and dies and everything else, but the designer series papers are a nice shortcut, right? You can add some beautiful backgrounds and things, but we're going to use our designer paper strategically today to make a great card. And so I'm glad you can join me, and we're going to put this together. Little heads up, we're going to be using the Beauty of, blanking out on the name, Beauty of the Earth, the designer series paper today. Don't buy it yet. This paper is going to be going on sale in July, along with a number of other designer series papers. So that's only days away. Today is July 26th. So on July 1st, I'm sorry, it's June 26th today. July 1st, you'll be able to go in and order these papers for 15% off. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to see if I can change things around. Okay, so I've got my setup here. Lighting looks a little dark to me. I'm going to try to bring my lamp down just a little bit so you can see better. And we'll actually just go ahead and let's make that bigger. There, switched it around. All right, hopefully you can see that all right. And I'm going to kind of stay off to the side on the screen here. If that's too distracting, let me know. Like I said, this is new software I'm playing around with. And so let me know what works and what doesn't. I'm going to reach across there and just put that away. I'm going to bring this just a touch closer. All right, so today we're using a stamp set called Inspired Thoughts. This one has a lot of nice greetings. It is part of a bundle of some beautiful nature dies, but it is a greeting set and can be standalone, and that's how we're using it today. And then we're using the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper. In particular, I'm using this pattern. We're actually going to use both sides of the paper for this card. And I'm going to grab the pack of paper. Good morning. So glad to see people from UK tuning in and South Dakota. Fantastic. I'm so glad you could join me live. So we're doing the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper. This is a gorgeous double-sided paper. Look at that. Oh, look at that fun wood grain. Oh, I forgot that was in here. This beautiful one, kind of a watercolor look. Backside of that is more green. This one has little watercolor trees on them. You're seeing them upside down. I apologize for that. This is just a fun floral background that would actually work really well with this particular card we're doing too. And in the blues, in fact, I'm going to pull that out because I'm going to remind us later at the end of the card that that would be another option. Another nice, just with some greenery, and oh, this is just so pretty. This is a beautiful watercolor, and what a beautiful Christmas card that would make with those pretty Christmas trees. So lots of fun options here. And then this gorgeous fall. Fall is coming eventually here. We're high summer right now, but it'll get here before we know it. And then this beautiful, colorful paper there. We're going to use this one right here. So I'm going to set that aside, and just to show you quickly on the, oops, I'm whacking my light. On the back of the designer series paper, you've got the name of the paper, and then it lists all of the colors that are in the paper. Let's get it up close and personal. And we're going to use Mossy Meadow ink today because I just went to the pack and I saw that that was on the back. And so I thought, okay, that's going to match perfectly. And that's in the pattern I'm using. So I'm going to go with that. Right. I'm going to set this one aside. And we've got our designer paper here. We've got our cardstock pieces. I'll go through that with you in a moment. And let's do a little cutting. Well, no, you know what? I'm going to go straight to die cutting. I don't know why I have my ink pad out here yet. I don't need you yet. All right, let's bring in our Stampin' Cut emboss machine because we're going to do some cutting. We're going to do some embossing. So it's going to save the day for us. Now, again, disclaimer, you've watched my videos, you've heard me say this before. I don't normally die cut on this desk. So when I do, just shove everything aside so that I actually have enough room. I can bring it forward, but if I bring it too far forward, you're not gonna be able to see. There we go. So we're using the Picture This dies. I've done quite a few cards with this. I have a lot more in my brain. I love this die set. It just cuts some stitched shapes into your paper, and you can use either the shapes that you cut out, or you can use the frame, the resulting frame. We're going to use the resulting frame today, but of course I'm going to save those labels that I die cut out. Oh, crazy shadows thing here going. Apologize for the lighting. It's not perfect, but hopefully it will make sense. Which way did I do it on my sample card? I did it this way. So my Stampin' Up logo is right side up on my die. You see the logo there? Whoops. Yeah, it's right side up. That's the way I did it, but it really wouldn't matter. And I'm going to grab a Post-it note here just because I don't want this to shift. I'm using a kind of an old scarred up plate that's probably a little bit warped, and it might move my die when I put my piece on here, or my top plate on. So let's grab that top plate. Got a few little paper bits in it from the last thing I cut. And we're going to go ahead and crank this through, and I'm whacking my light. I have some new lights I just purchased, and can't wait to try them. I'll do that in the next video. Just didn't have time to try to figure them out today and get them charged up. All right, so that's done. But we're not done with this piece. So let's see what we have here. And we're going to keep the machine right here. So I'm going to peel that off. I am done with my sticky note. And I'm going to pull off my die. I am done with my die. I'm going to set that aside. So you can see it cut this beautiful frame with the 3 rectangles. And I'm going to pull it up really close here. Can you see the stitching that it put into the frame? Sometimes I have to trick my camera to focus there. Around each of those little rectangles. So a little something extra and fancy. And then it also cut out these great labels. These would be awesome to use on another card with that same stitching around them. So it's a double die. It does stitching on the piece it cuts from, and it does stitching on the piece that it cuts out. So we'll set those aside, and we're going to emboss this piece. So to do embossing, I need to make a little change to my setup for my machine here. I need to remove this die cutting piece. So it'll be just the platform. And I'm going to add in a specialty plate. So I'm removing this plate, and I'm removing the top plate that I used. I'm not going to use those now because I'm using a 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to get better results with that 3D embossing folder if I use the 3D embossing specialty plate. So we're just going to go straight on. There's no bottom plate needed at all. And I'm going to take my piece that I die cut. Now this is the Bark 3D embossing folder. It is super cool. And it is directional, right? So the grain's going this way. And I think I would like the grain going, that's the, my card is going to be this direction, vertical. And so I want the grain going with my card. It really wouldn't matter, but that's how it would be on a tree. So that's what I'm going to go with. However, it's not going to quite fit in my machine this way. So I don't think, yeah, maybe it would, but I'm going to turn it and lay it in here this way. So my grain's going to be running that way. You can just check it by just looking at it. And then we'll put our embossing top plate on and send it through. And it feels like nothing's happening because it cranks through so quickly, so easily, but it is. All right, now we're done with the machine. Let's set that aside. Let's put it down on the floor, get it out of our way. And let's pull it out and let's see how we did here. Isn't that gorgeous? I hope you can see the detail and depth on that folder because it is just so pretty. And it doesn't have to really be on a card to do with nature, with, you know, with trees. It can be on all sorts of cards. I just got a swap where it was used on a floral card and I absolutely loved it. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring in our other pieces of paper, and we're actually going to do some cutting here. So this paper is my easy button. This beautiful set of trees that are kind of watercolored on here are going to go in my little window. And so it's going to make my life so easy. So I'm just going to cut them to fit. And I want them a little bit bigger than the windows so that I have a space to adhere them onto the back of the card. So I am going to grab my paper trimmer. And I'm going to cut off. What you can do is you can just kind of measure it. I do know that I want it to be 1.5 inches. That's going to be a little bit bigger than my rectangle, but not so big that it's going to stick down below. And I want it to be, I'm trying to remember how long I want it to be. I want to say 3 inches. Yeah, so you can see 3 inches is going to be, again, just a little bit wider than my rectangle so that it's not going to hang out the edges. And then this is actually a little less than 1.5. So 1.5 is my magic for that. This one is 3.5 inches would be a little bit longer. And about 1 inch would just perfectly fit with that one. Just barely wide enough. So that's what I'm going to go for. My center panel is actually going to be the back side of this paper. So I'm going to cut off 1 inch. And before I cut that off, I can lay this on my paper trimmer, and I'm getting a reflection here. So let me lift it up and tilt it so you can see it better. So I can see that when I cut this inch off, that's going to give me a 1.5 inch section here where I can see the trees. So that's where my next cut's going to go. So I'm going to lay it back in my trimmer and I'm going to cut off that 1 inch strip. And I'm going to cut that down to 3 3/4. And I realize that if you're watching from the UK or Australia, you're going to be using the metric. I'm going to flip this over. And so that piece is going to go right in this panel here, which is where our words are going to go. It's just going to be a little backdrop for us. So I'm going to set that aside. My next piece I want to cut at 1.5. And we had measured that out. I'm going to flip it around here with this. Maybe you can see it better in the camera if I do it this way. And the lighting's a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to cut this down to 1.5. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the next panel at 1.5. All right. So there I've got some trees. Now I don't need it this wide. In fact, if it was this wide, it would hang out on the sides of my card, and that's no good. Now you could even just take some scissors and figure out where you wanted it and cut it exactly. I'm just going to go ahead and use the paper trimmer. And I believe we said we're going to cut this at 3 inches. I should double check that, but I'm just going to live dangerously. Now I'll double check it. Yeah, 3 inches is just perfect. They're fitting right in our window, just like we want it to. And let's take this one and do the same. We're going to cut that at 3 inches now that we know it's correct. All right, let's put our paper trimmer away. And I believe I skipped over some of the measurements here, so no worries. I will recap that. And look at this. I have a whole nother set of trees and some other little bits from this paper that I can use on another card, either side. But here's what we have for this, this card. We've got our trees, and I want to slide it up enough that you can't see the trunks that were left here, and that you can see everything in the window there. So this piece that we die cut and embossed is 4 by 5 1/4. Our card base is your standard 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I scored it at 4 1/4. And this will be layering on top of the card. And then we have one more piece that we're going to stamp our greeting on. This is very skinny. It is 5/8 inches by, I believe, 3. Let's check it. Yep, 5/8 inches by 3. And that's where my greeting is going to go. I'm going to share an option for you on that. So we're going to go to our Inspired Thoughts stamp set here. Oh, and while we're talking about measurements, I might as well once again give you the measurements for these. So these are 1 1/2 by 3, 1 1/2 by 3, and then this one was 1 inch by 3 3/4. You could even make it as wide as 4, but you need to make sure it doesn't get wider than your piece. So I made it a little bit smaller. It just makes it easier. I don't have to think about it so much. So I'm going to stamp my greeting on this really skinny piece. I am making a sympathy card. Sympathy cards are so important. When someone has a loss, it's hard to know what to say. It's hard to know what to do. And there really is no, you can't fix it, right? There's no magic solution there, but what the most important thing to do when someone close to you has a loss is to acknowledge it. You don't need to try to put a Band-Aid on it or fix it. It's a yucky thing. But you just want to acknowledge it and let them know that they're thinking of them, that you're thinking of them. And when I'm hand making a sympathy card, I'm thinking of that person that had that loss. If I'm making those cards ahead, I think of someone I know that has a loss. And I just hope that in their heart, they feel that. They feel my prayers and know that I'm thinking of them. And when they get that card, they'll feel that. So I just stamped with heartfelt sympathy because it truly is from my heart that I'm making this card for them. And I stamped that in the Mossy Meadow ink. I'm going to I need that ink for the inside of her card. Let's stamp that. Now, this is a very tight surface. The stamp just fits. If that's nerve-wracking to you, I'm going to show you another option that you could do on this card at the end, if I remember. Remind me if I forget. Okay, let's move on to our inside greeting. So I'm going to take my card, open it up here, and the inside message, again, from the same stamp set. So I've got Inspired Thoughts, and I'm going to use inside, sheltering you with love at a time when words fall short, which I really like that sentiment. The thing I like about stamps is sometimes I struggle with coming up with the right words. And so I really like that somebody else thought it through, and I can just go through my word options and find one that kind of matches up with my feelings and my heart at the time. All right, so I'm going to stamp that in there. That's the inside of our card. This would be a great place to add, we had some leftover designer series paper. You could cut this and add this at the bottom of your card just to kind of bring some of that designer paper onto the inside of the card. So let's put the front of our card together here. So the easiest way for me to do this is to use glue dots. If you prefer to use a tape runner or some other kind of adhesive, then great, do that. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to pick these up, and I'm just putting that glue dot close to the outside edge. Am I on the back? Ooh, You know what? It doesn't really matter, actually. You can decide which we want the back and, I mean, this folder is so awesome. It can be either side. All right, so we got that there. And sometimes with die cuts, there's a clearer side when they're stitching. This one, because we embossed it, you really can't tell. The two sides look identical. So this has become my back side now, and I don't think it really matters. All right, so I'm putting a glue dot on each end of the frame. Probably can't even see those. You can if I tilt it a little bit. All right, let's put our glue dots aside. And now we're going to take our I'm going to start with this solid green piece because it's the easiest. I'm just putting it on with so that I can see the trees on this side, which means the green side will be on the front. It's the easiest because I don't have to worry if it's straight or not straight or lined up. I just need to make sure that it's covering up that opening, right? Because there's no pattern on that one. This one, I want to be a little more strategic in how I place my trees. So I've got those glue dots in place. I'm just going to position it over my opening until I find the right place for me, and I'm just going to lightly press it down. Do the same with this one. Just line it up until it's perfect and go right there. Okay, I forgot you can see me, so I should be sitting down, but I often stand up when I'm positioning things because I can see it better if I'm right over top of it. I hope that makes sense. All right, let's take some dimensionals here. Put those on the back of our greeting. You can see them right there. And let's peel the back off. I know a lot of people have a standing desk for stamping. It's really a great idea. But sometimes I like to sit too. All right, so I've got that popped up. You can see it sticking a little bit to my desk because I have some exposed glue dots, but that's okay because now we're going to mount it onto our card. So I'm going to go back to those dimensionals. Now you wouldn't have to use dimensionals for this. If you wanted to leave it flatter for mailing purposes, you absolutely could just adhere it directly to the card. I love a little extra dimension. I think it makes the card look a little more professional or fancy to have that extra dimension. I'm even going to add some dimension in the middle. So I'm actually going with 6 dimensionals on here. 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and 2 in the center. That will just help keep my die cut panel, embossed panel popped up here. And peel off all the backing papers. And I'm going to stand up again. And I'm going to make sure my greeting's right side up on the inside of the card because, yeah, we've all done that, right? You open up the card and your greeting's upside down. Then you just have to cover it up and fix it. And there we have our sympathy card. We're going to add just one little tweak to that, and that is the Silver and Clear Epoxy Essentials. I've recently started playing with these, and I love them. You do not need an embellishment on this. It would be just beautiful this way. I always like to add a little something shiny or sparkly. We've got the circles, which is what I used on my first version of this card. I'm actually going to use the, let's see if I can hold it up. You probably cannot even see this because they are actually clear. It's a diamond shape. I'll show it to you on the silver ones because those show up a lot better. There's a diamond shape. Another thing that would be nice is there's this kind of a raindrop, or in this situation, it could be more like a teardrop. So I'm just placing that. I almost got it straight. I'm going to just adjust that a little bit so it's a little straighter. This is why when I'm placing things like this, I don't press down right away because sometimes I get it crooked. Again, I'm going to stand up, sorry, but I can just see so much better when I get it straighter. Oh, it stuck to my finger. No, it's not where I want you. Oh my gosh, you guys, now it's sticking to my desk. Okay. My nails have no edge on them right now. There, got it. Chasing this around the world here right now. let's see if I can do it this way. All right. So there we have our sympathy card, but I did want to share with you another option. If you were a little bit nervous about stamping on that skinny piece, and I cut an extra just in case I messed it up. But remember, when we die cut this frame, we got some bonus pieces. We got these labels, right? And so this one, you could have just skipped the green layer and you could have put this right there and stamped your greeting on that and then still popped it up so that it would have, you know, stood out a little bit. And then you've got a little more room for your words. So you could cut one here, stamp it, you don't like it, flip it over, stamp the other side, you still don't like it. You've got this because you die cut this when you did the frame, right? So lots of options to get it to your liking. So there we have our sympathy card. This is one I did last time with the Picture This Dies. And I will edit the description of this video and add in the links to the other videos I did with the Picture This Dies because they are super fun. And this one actually ended up being a Thinking of You card. But it also could certainly have been a sympathy card as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let me come in this way and see if you can see the cards a little bit better. There we go. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Saturday and happy creating. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.